Okay, so, oh wow, that's really loud, isn't it? Okay, so I wonder if that fixed it. Testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, so that should be good, I think. So now I'll do that and do this. Turn that down, maybe. Okay. Oops. I do one more little test here. All right, I think that's good. So I am starting way later than I wanted to. It took forever to get everything set up. So, um, this morning isn't as obvious. Sorry, this is gonna be so distracting. I need to. Is that better? Hello, hello. I'll just turn that off for now. Okay. Should be fine. So this morning isn't as obvious as yesterday, I don't think. Yesterday ended up working out pretty nicely. We went to the sell site here that I highlighted in the morning. Didn't get there till way late in the day, but that ended up playing out. Overnight, just kind of went all the way back up. We do have some sell site here. Um, yeah, that's London liquidity. Also, this around one. Um, it left this here, and then this is really smooth. So this would be like nice to see, I think. I'm just not, I don't feel extremely confident that it'll just come back down like that. It could, but I'm just not as confident in this as I was in this yesterday. So get rid of. So we only have 15 minutes before market open. Um, Zoom out a little bit here. Hopefully my computer can handle all this and not explode. So I feel like I'm just gonna get rid of a lot of stuff here. Um, that recorded. It's not. Gosh, my computer's being really slow. Okay. So now that that's recorded, I can just hide it and get it back later. Um, that should be good. It's a pretty clean chart. So just go to the daily. This has obviously been really challenging trading conditions. It's just in a range. Recently come down significantly here. Traded into this fair value gap on the daily chart. Got this low here. This is this daily wick, midpoint, consequence encroachment. And then this purple line is this weekly wick here, the midpoint of that. Not really super confident in any direction right now. It could go either way. This is really smooth here. That's easier to see on the lower time frame, like the hourly chart. So that's pretty obvious. But ES has equal lows below the market. I guess we can look at that right now, potentially. Computer wants to keep up. I'll just full screen this. This is ES. So there's equal lows right here. And then there's also this. So that is obvious to me. So I guess I would just be leaning short this morning because this seems just as obvious as these lows were yesterday. I mean, that is like really clean. And then there's also this here, right there, and then that. So I'm pretty confident it'll go below that for any chance of. Before I would be interested in going long, I would want these lows to be taken out. But, you know, these lows need taken out first. That's like step one. Then, amongst other things, I might want to see higher prices. But for now, I'm probably going to still be leaning short. I mean, this is a break in structure on the market. But this could just be a sweep of liquidity here to then just come back up for these highs. The fire department is having a grand old time across the street, so uh this is that buy side. Yeah, kind of just a loose bias going into the morning. I'm just not really confident in either direction. I'm leaning short, definitely. Um, this is a daily fair value gap. I guess I didn't show that. I guess you could see it. It's a volume imbalance, right? 708. So yeah, so there's a one tick volume imbalance here. So you have to include this whole wick and then the body here. That's the fair value gap. I'm kind of expecting NQ to trade into this at open for a Judas swing, and then maybe we'll go lower, and it could be that ES goes and takes those lows, and then maybe NQ comes down and has S&T, doesn't take the lows entirely. I don't know. It's a wait and see type of day. This is first presented from last Wednesday, I think. Maybe the Wednesday before, but it's just a first presented for value gap. It's been used multiple times. That's really nice, isn't it? And it's just in close proximity to this lower half of the fair value gap and this weekly wick. So it's just something I'm wanting to note because we could use that to reverse lower. Yeah, it's just not really obvious today like it was yesterday. This. Thicken it up a little bit so it's easier to see. This is going to be the new day opening gap. It'll be something like this. I'm gonna get rid of the octants just because the chart gets way too busy with all those. You can just eyeball them. So, I mean, definitely mid-gap closure would be my initial draw on liquidity. Plus the liquidity here, and this low is like pretty clean. Like, I don't know, there's not a lot to it. It's literally just a little pivot low and then straight back up. So retail buying this is like pretty easy for retail to make money on this little pullback. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, and that's in pretty close proximity to the mid-gap closure. So this is my draw, I think, for the morning. I don't know about these lows or even this low, even though this is really clean. It's just, I just don't know. It could fill the whole gap and then trade below this. But I'm not going to be super confident in that. I'm going to be decently confident in a big gap closure and potentially a Judas swing up into the daily fair value gap. Preferably, I don't know, maybe at open, it trades lower, doesn't take this low out, creates equal lows at this low, snaps back up, and then grinds higher up until about 10. I guess 10 would be here. Up until around 10. And then around 10, maybe we use this fair value gap to reverse and then come back down to take these lows out. And then your best case scenario would be this low and mid gap closure. I think that's my bias for the day. If it were to go lower immediately at open, then we do have equal highs like all in here, relative equal highs. So if we go lower very quickly, then and then if ES takes the liquidity that I talked about earlier, and there's bullish SMT on NQ, then my bias could change, and I'd want to see these highs taken out, and then maybe look for longs around 10 o'clock to go up into the daily for value gap. So that's kind of my loose bias for the morning. I'm not really confident in it, so it's really a wait and see type of day, I think. I'm hoping that the audio is good. I think I fixed it, but it might be too loud now, so I guess we'll see. Okay, so market is just about to open in about 2 minutes. Looking like we're going to get that Judas after all. But again, I'm not really confident in any specific direction today. It's always so annoying getting the chart positioned in a way where I can see all my PD arrays and the candlesticks properly and it not be too zoomed in and not be too zoomed out, and it's frustrating at times. It's already a bearish SMT on ES at this high here. So ES already looking weaker than NQ. And for ES, I'm really confident in these lows. So obviously, if I have a confident bearish bias in ES, that would mean NQ should be bearish as well. I'm just not confident in NQ taking these lows necessarily. So definitely a short bias, but just slight bias. Oh yeah, I guess I better adjust this, shouldn't I? Because this, now that we have the opening price, that is the new day opening gap. Regular trading hours, new day opening gap. Just double check I didn't move this improperly. Nope, that's good. So the mid gap closure is obviously the initial draw at open. But we could get a Judas. This could already be the Judas, right? If that's the case, then I don't know. I don't feel extremely comfortable just hopping in short with the Judas being like pre-market. Of course, like it's not necessary. It has a Judas during regular hours, but that could be the Judas, and then it goes lower. It's a little inversion for value gap right here on the 1 minute chart. See if it holds that. It's looking good. It is really early after open though, so not I'm just not extremely confident. It could be that maybe the afternoon session is a little more obvious. But so far it's playing out like I would have expected. Just a little early. Started the Judas pre-market instead of waiting for the market open. Other than that, it's done pretty much what I expected. I want to just have the 1 minute chart up, but I think the 5 minute provides a lot of context and insight, and it's zoomed out significantly. But it seems less busy just to have the 1 minute chart up. So I fight with that sometimes. There's also this inversion for value gap. It's currently working. This will be interesting to watch, that one. So overlapping this SIBI. That's a nice reaction off of it. That's really nice, honestly. Really clean. I mean, realistically, I would be... If this Judas had happened later in the session, and this high was formed closer to 10 o'clock, I would probably be getting in short. But because it's so early in the morning, that's really what's preventing me from trying to trade this alongside my already kind of uncertainty. Go just back and forth that 5 minute. If I want to check it, I'll just pop it up. So potential immediate rebalance opportunity right here for the 5 minute, right around that 178.5. So basically a return to this inversion. That could happen. This is potentially an order block, right? Bearish order block. This up close candle. So if we want it to remain bearish, it needs to stay below the midpoint of that. Wow. See that? That's why it's just so early. I just don't trust that this is it for the Judas. Because it happens so early. Because that's nasty. That move back up. Very tricky. So, I mean, the 1 minute did close below that midpoint, which is good. Like the wick is technically okay. If it closes below the midpoint, this black line is that 5 minute order blocks mean threshold, then technically it's still considered bearish, but I don't trust it at all. Um, Actually, this is, so I'm going to get rid of this inversion. This is first presented fair value gap. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that up. Maybe 185.25, 85.5. So there's no volume imbalance there. And then there's no volume imbalance there. I'm not even going to check it. So that presented fair value gap. Tuesday, 7/21. Yeah. It's not this one because this candle was formed during pre-market. So you need two candles form. You need three candles formed during regular hours to get your first presented regular hours, fair value gap. So that's this one here. So now we have this wick. I'm gonna get rid of the 5 minute. It's not offering much context right now. So So my other theory is somewhat panning out. I talked about potentially it coming down and creating relative equal lows at this low. Now, it didn't get as close as I would have wanted it to, but it did form another pivot low here, which is just more sell side liquidity for later. So if it wanted to go ahead and come up and take high of day and then uh, around 10 o'clock form the setup to come back down, that would be good too. I would like that as well. Maybe we soup this low, reach a little lower, and then don't take this, and then come back up. It's just it's a really wait and see type of day. Nothing is really I'm not super confident in anything right now. Just watching. It's really nice that all these bodies are staying below that mean threshold. Go ahead and label it 5-minute block. Uh, they're all staying below that and staying inside this inversion for value gap, inside the high of it. So that's kind of nice. So it could use first presented as a reclaimed uh, SIBI, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, bearish for value gap, whatever you want to call it. I want to say putting on a short in this with a stop loss. Oh, I don't know, somewhere up here. Looking for just this low could be a good scalping opportunity, but it's not something that I am like extremely confident in. But because I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not confident in anything this morning. I could foresee it leaving this low and snapping back up, and then uh, it come down and take these later in the afternoon session. I could see that happening as well. So it's just really kind of a low odds morning, I think. I mean, look at that. We realistically should have taken it there because it traded into this inefficiency right there and then came all the way back down and then it closed above the midpoint of this wick, stopped here at that midpoint of this wick and like didn't take the low, and now we're all the way back up here after this wick formed. That seems absolutely unnecessary. If it was going to trade into this and then come down, it should have done it on this 942 candle and not the 943 candle, right? Because this was already trading up and then came all the way down here and didn't take the low. And it should have. It should have. So I don't trust this going short at all. It's just lower odds. It could still like work, obviously. I don't know for sure, but I mean that's nice. I went to the midpoint, came all the way back down, but it's just obviously really challenging to be trading right now. There it is. It came back up one more time into this inefficiency, and then this Wix midpoint. One more time, came all the way back up just to take this little low here. See what ES is doing. ES ended up taking this high. I just don't know. I do not know. Um, I don't know if NQ is gonna leave this low intact, reverse, and then take it later. I don't know if it's going to take the low out, take these lows out, and then maybe at 10 o'clock we reverse higher to take these highs here. I just don't. I'm not completely confident in anything, especially where we're at right here. Once we break out of this range, then maybe it becomes more obvious. But when we're like in this, it's really hard to tell. I mean, see how quickly that just snapped back up? It was all the way down here just a second ago. Okay, so that's bearish, right? Closing below that's bearish. But, short term, I'm not saying it's going to like tank after doing that, but that's a sign of bearishness. So maybe we can be a little more confident in these lows. There's also that quarter gap closure. This is the upper quadrant of the new day opening gap. The yellow line is the consequence encroachment, or the midpoint. There was a reaction there, but now it's an immediate rebalance and straight back down. So all of a sudden, it's gotten pretty clean. It's kind of immediate rebalance, lower, use this inefficiency here pretty cleanly. It spent kind of some extra time in it, but it closed very far away from it on all those candles. Oh, it's so tricky. It's so tricky. Did not take this low. It's kind of interesting that the bodies are staying inside of the order block that they've reached below. Just about 950 macro as well, so be interesting to see what happens at 950. Just look at this on a 5-minute for a second. There's a little inversion for value gap here on the 5-minute. It just traded into. Left these lows down here, so that's like suspicious, I guess. Damn, look at that. So this is nice, actually. These equal highs here. That's some nice buy-side liquidity form there. Interesting now. So this is an order block, right? It closed below the mean threshold, but it seems as though that's permissible if there's liquidity to be taken, or if it wants to take liquidity. So it took liquidity, and then after liquidity, and all the bodies closed inside of the lower portion of it as well. So it took liquidity, closed inside the lower portion of it, did not close outside of it, and now we used it extremely bullishly here. So that's just interesting to note, I guess. But I mean, it's just kind of trapped, right? It's just trapped. I think that the afternoon session might be better. I feel like I do want to see these lows taken at some point this week, but maybe not today. Because that is really clean. And ES obviously has really clean lows down there as well. Could happen today. I don't know. It's hard to tell. So I guess now an interesting thing to note would be this wick here. The midpoint of that wick. This is obviously high resistance liquidity. I mean, it hasn't really done much. realistically. I mean, it took buy side, then sell side. Generated more sell side here, which I think is nice for a bias maybe later in the day. I think it would be, I think best case scenario for me to take a trade today would be if we left these lows intact, including this one. And then it's about to be 10 o'clock. I think it's pretty decent odds that at 10 o'clock, this goes higher to take the buy side liquidity. And then during, I guess between 10 and noon, it generate more sell side. And then lunch macro sends it back down to take these lows, potentially. I think that would be best case scenario if I was wanting to trade something today, would be the lunch macro if those things happened. Be interesting to see if it closes above this quarter gap closure. Goes slightly below it. There's this wick. Well, there you go. It took the low. Does it leave this? Okay. I really like the idea of 10 o'clock taking this out here. I think that's a pretty decent idea to have. Left that there. That's kind of nice. It's okay it took this low because it left all that. So it's really just an internal sweep. I'm going to get rid of this order block because I think that this inversion for value gap is really interesting to watch. Just about 10 o'clock. Take a gander at the 5-minute real quick. Okay, this is looking pretty good, honestly. To go up to here at a bare minimum. We'll see about that. If it tips this high, okay, so there you go. Sometimes it works too good and you don't get filled. But that's okay. Right at 10 o'clock. That's pretty perfect. But since it took these highs, I'm canceling it because it is pretty uncertain this morning, and it's like, what if this is a soup to then come back down? This is like obvious bare minimum objective. If I had gotten filled, I would be at break even at this point. It is respecting this first presented for value gap, which is interesting. And there's still this inversion here as well. So that's why I had my target at the low of that, because I don't know, I'm not completely confident it takes the high. It's still uncertain, but I was certain in these highs here. But that's already happened, so unfortunately it just didn't fill me for an entry there. So tricky. Of course, it could like reach into this now and then come back up again, but I'm not as confident in the trade after these highs are taken. I'm confident before the highs are taken, but not as confident after because this liquidity still rests right here. So it could go either way. It could go higher here. It could come back down lower here. And so because of that, it's low odds. And see, isn't it good that I canceled the order right after those highs were taken? Because I think I would have been stopped there, if not really close to it. I think I had my stop right below the midpoint of this wick. So yeah, and that'd be a stop out. So considering how challenging it is this morning, I am reading it, I think, pretty well. Yeah, just really not good conditions here. This would have been an amazing scalp. Uh, but it might have even just been break even because I think it was just a hair off of that full target I had. So just really difficult. It's like it took that low by just by a hair, but that's not significant to me. I would still want to see that disrupted further later on if it leaves it. um, yeah, then ES is like all of a sudden way stronger than NQ. So it's bullish S&T here on ES. I would imagine a lot of traders today are getting pretty beat up in this price action. Oh. When it's high resistance liquidity like this, it's hard to get any info from the higher time frame because it's so just back and forth. Like this 5 minute, I mean, you could use order blocks and wicks can be useful, but it's hard to see inefficiency and exactly what's going on in high resistance if you're not on a 1 minute chart. And then sometimes even the 1 minute chart can be hard to read. I mean, this is pretty, it's just not good conditions to be trading. Yeah. But I'm pretty happy with my reading of the market this morning. I was uncertain pre-market, and if I'm uncertain, that means it's probably high resistance liquidity, because if it's obvious, then it will run to liquidity with low resistance. If it's not obvious, then it's more likely to do something like this. And we had a big run during the overnight session, and we didn't leave any obvious liquidity pool other than this. Um, I would say this one, but there was a sweep here. If it had left, if it made a higher low right here, right? If it made a higher low above these highs, then I would say this is pretty obvious. This is obviously obvious, but I just don't think it goes here today necessarily. That could be a tomorrow thing. Hmm, yeah. 10 o'clock basically offered a turtle soup. I mean, this is the real move. You could have traded up to the liquidity because that was obvious to me at the time. It just didn't offer me a fill. Um, but I was leaning short this morning for the mid gap closure plus the sell side down here. And that is playing out, but it's really reluctant to actually get there. Um, so this 10 o'clock Judas swing is really the best short entry on the chart, I think, other than anticipating something in here, but over here, I think it's pretty uncertain because at open, this could have ripped even higher, right? Like this is the Judas swing here, but at 9:30, it could have popped significantly higher. So it's like, where do you realistically like anticipate an entry? You could have used this weekly wicks consequence encroachment for an entry. I had it drawn beforehand, and then maybe you give yourself a certain amount of risk, um, and then let your bias play out. But that's really hard to anticipate in the moment unless you have a lot of experience, and I don't. So, I could foresee uh, potentially somebody with more experience getting short in here. It used the low of the daily for value gap right there. That's pretty clean. But gosh, it's really hard, these types of conditions. I like this long idea. I really do, especially in like bearish condition, the bearish choppy condition, being able to spot this buy side and the odds of it going up there at 10 I'm really happy with that. And then I'm also really happy with canceling the order when it didn't fill me and it took the highs. Because once the highs are taken, that was it. That was what I was confident in. I wasn't confident in these highs necessarily. Um, and I had my full target like right here. So, that's just what happens with precision at times. You don't get filled, and I didn't get filled either way. Hypothetically, if I had gotten filled here, I didn't get filled for my exit, so it would have been break even anyway. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, I don't know. But ended up taking that low with a little more confidence anyway. I got a body closing below it. Oh, goodness. Guess I'll just label this basic fair value app because it's changed its characteristic. I don't want to put too much bias on this now because it's basically behaving as a reclaimed bearish fair value gap. Stopped at the high of it there. That's kind of nice to see. It's probably random. It's interesting. I feel like a really experienced veteran trader could trade this condition uh, pretty accurately and profitably. Um, but I also feel like highly experienced veteran traders wouldn't trade this at all. I feel like they could, but they wouldn't. So it's kind of interesting. Um, feel like I want to trade, but there's just nothing here right now that's like just obvious. And I look at these potential entries, um, and I'm thinking like, oh, if I was more experienced, like I could have taken these, and I'm sure more experienced traders did take these, but at the same time, those experienced traders probably aren't trading this at all, even though they could. It's kind of a paradox. Let's see here. So 10 o'clock's here. I really like these equal highs. If these stay intact, this will be lunch macro draw on liquidity. Because it's formed after 10 o'clock. Let me go ahead and get rid of this one. That's been met already. 10 o'clock's here. Liquidity generated after 10 o'clock. This is like perfect. Perfect, perfect. So, and it's using this bearish for value gap to create the liquidity. Also this one. And this inversion. There's kind of a lot in here. So yeah, if it leaves these highs intact, we could see, let me go to a 15-minute maybe. You know, maybe we take this low and go to mid-gap closure. Maybe we hold the order block here. But I think it would be nice if we saw maybe around, I don't know, sometime after 11:30, it would be nice to see something set up that draws us up to this for the lunch macro, because I like that. So yeah, it's looking like the afternoon session could be much better than the morning session. Oh, I'm just now realizing I have a higher time frame chart on my other monitor, and I didn't have the 15-minute this whole time. I just had 2 hourly charts, so that's not providing much context, is it? Oh, goodness. I hope it leaves these highs intact, or that mm, that's annoying. Yeah, we really, you just need to wait for at least 11:30, at least probably closer to noon, or maybe 12:30. We'll see something more obvious, but I was kind of hoping it would leave these highs and then kind of just continue doing this lower. Very tricky morning. I mean, the more the more that the morning session plays out, the happier I am that I didn't actually take any trades. And I was very selective with the trade I did try to take, and technically it worked so well I didn't get filled. So it's, you know, trading's so weird. You have to, like, it's so weird. Technically, if you're exactly correct on a trade idea, if you're exactly accurate, you won't make any money because you won't get filled on your entry. Uh, Period. Like, you won't get filled on your entry. Like, if you're exact to the tick, you're probably not getting filled. And then even your exit, if you're exactly correct, you won't get filled. So you kind of have to be wrong every single time you make money. At least a little. You have to be a little bit wrong, right? Or you won't get filled. I don't know why I said that. I was just thinking because this works so amazing. It just didn't offer the fill in this inversion. It just went immediately. I just don't. I'm looking at this move up and I'm thinking, oh wow, this is looking like it could go higher. Because this is like some pretty serious displacement at this point, and it's a break of structure here after sweeping liquidity here. Like there's kind of a lot of things adding up. It's around 10 o'clock, right? So it's kind of in that time window where it could reverse higher still, right? Um, took buy side, then sell side, and then this is the actual break-in structure and all that good jazz, and then it could use this inversion, right? Potentially. It's like a reclaimed inversion for value gap, but I just don't trust it at all. Like it feels like it's trying to trick me, you know? I don't know. I feel like it's not actually time to do anything yet. And it's trying to make it seem like it's time to do something, but it's really not. Really, I think the lunch session will lunch or afternoon will be the time for something to happen. I think up until then, it'll just set it up. It'll create the liquidity. Hmm. That's a nice reaction off the low because the low is overlapping with this inversion here. Oh, I'm gonna get rid of this. I don't think this inversion is important anymore. It is nice that it used the high of it there, but I don't know. If we trade up to it, I think it'll just use it to generate buy side liquidity. I don't know. I'm just not as interested in this anymore. So try to just clean up the chart a little bit. Buy side, because I guess that's gone now. Pull up this 5 minute again, see what there is to see. Much. Not much. This could be changed into the state of delivery here. Then use this as an order block. But I just don't try. I don't think it's time. I don't know. It's very challenging. Just pull up ES on the big chart here. I really like these lows on ES. I like that as the draw. It could be. It could be that we're just waiting around. I think the I think the afternoon session could send us higher to take liquidity being generated here. This is starting to look kind of nice, assuming it doesn't rip through all this early. If it leaves this high intact and then creates a new high here, then you'll have relative equal highs. And then leaves these intact, right? You'll kind of get like a retail trend line potentially here. Um, and that would be a nice draw on liquidity for the afternoon session, assuming it actually leaves it intact. And so then afternoon session could send us higher. And then I don't know exactly what we do after that, but I think it would be nice to potentially see buy side liquidity taken here, and then work this area a bit, and then a little later in the week, maybe start to see it wilt back down to these lows here. I think that's my idea right now. This is playing out though, right? This is pressing higher, but I am still just wanting to lean short. I'm not completely bullish yet in the market, so I'm just not trusting this. It's potentially a decent scalp, but okay, so we took this high out. My idea still stands, just assuming it leaves some liquidity. It can leave if it leaves these and takes this one. That's fine for the idea as well. If it just goes straight up from here, not much to do really, I guess, other than just wait for better opportunities. That was a quick snap up there. This was screaming at me that it wanted to go higher. But I didn't trust it. I literally said this looks like it wants to go higher, but I think it's lying to me. Uh, but I don't want to go long until the afternoon session. If I were to go long, I want there to be obvious 10 o'clock liquidity generated, and then like the lunch macro send us higher. Yeah, this is the hardest part about trading, just waiting, not doing anything. So we're reaching into the low of that daily fair value gap. Where is it? Daily fair value gap. Right into the low of that. The opening price as well. Took out that high. So right now, they're taking out anybody short that trailed a stop loss or didn't take it at the sell side down here. So pretty much everybody short is getting stopped out if they're using proper money management. Because surely you don't want this to go that far against you, but it's the last thing that's interesting is this wick. This wick's midpoint. Use the lower quadrant. I'll just throw that on here real quick. $10.30. I've noticed that the half-hour marks often form significant swing highs and lows. I mean, this one's obvious, 9:30, significant swing high. See if there's any other. Also, macros will form lows and highs. So it's 10. My point being, 10:30 is, it's 10:30 right now. So this could easily be a somewhat short-term significant high, and maybe we go lower back into this inefficiency potentially. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of imagining we just kind of like work this range and generate some sort of liquidity. And if it doesn't do that, then there might not be any trades today because the lunch macro, there needs to be some sort of obvious draw. And right now, there really isn't. Taking both sides of the market, and there's not much left to do, really. This is a nice move. It did happen at 10 o'clock. I believe it's the London close kill zone from 10 to 12, I think. I think that's correct. But typically around 10 o'clock, you'll see some sort of reversal on the move that happened at open. So the move that happened at open at 9:30, we moved lower. And then right around 10 o'clock, I've noticed it can happen around the 9:50 macro, potentially, if it wants to go early. But 10 o'clock is here. We took buy side. What that does is when we take buy side, that will create sell side liquidity at the lows because retail traders will be buying a breakout and their stops will go probably down here. The majority of them will be down here. Others will have it higher. Some might have it lower. But when we take these highs, we generate sell side liquidity down here. So then we come down and take that. So we take buy side and then the generated sell side here. We stab into it. We work it a little bit. And then the low is formed at 10:10, which is the end of the 9:50 to 10:10 macro. That's when that low is formed. We get, I believe that's chain to say delivery. I'm not an expert. Because it's traded above the body there after sell side being taken. We respect the midpoint of this wick here. And we go to the lower quadrant as well. So that's kind of nice, isn't it? And then this is what was really obvious. And I even said that this seems like it wants to go higher. I just did not trust it, and maybe I should have. But I didn't. But this is what makes it obvious, because we have bodies closing above this swing high with displacement. So that's a break in structure. And then we trade into this inefficiency, use this inversion for value gap low, and then this inversion for value gap here. We use basically the high of that there. And all of these PD arrays are overlapping the lower quadrant, or no, this is the upper quadrant of the new day opening gap. So yeah, that's kind of nice. And this low here is happening around 1020. And I've noticed that if we're going to get a swing high or swing low at 1030, this is just my own kind of noticing, I guess. Let's say a swing high or low is going to form at 1030. 10 minutes before that half hour mark can start the move to create the swing high. So this is 1020 right here. The algorithm's going to make a swing high, potentially, right? Potentially. Let's say hypothetically the algorithm's going to make a swing high up here, and it's not going to take this high out. And it's going to do it at 1030. It could be that at 1020, that is the time that starts the move. For 1030, right around that time, to make the swing high. And all of these bodies are respecting these gradients of this wick. This is the lower quadrant. They're all closing below that, and it reached up and touched the midpoint. So that, and then look at that. That's really nice. And that high was formed at 1035. So that's pretty good, I think. I haven't seen ICT talk about like this concept of 1020 starting the move to form a short-term swing high at 1030. And it doesn't have to be 10. It could be like any half hour mark. It's just what I've noticed, but I haven't seen ICT talk about it, but it's what I have noticed. And so that's pretty nice. And it's using this wick really, really perfectly. It's perfect. The way it used that wick there. At 1030, at the low of the daily for value gap, and near this weekly wicks midpoint. So that's nice. And now we've got a little bit of displacement here. So we'll see what happens. There isn't obvious liquidity to go take. So I don't know how strong of a move down this would be. I don't know how low it's going to go. It's still like, I'm still not super confident in either direction. But just looking at this kind of in hindsight, and it's not completely in hindsight because I do remember saying that this looked higher. I just simply did not trust it. But, so I called that before it happened. I just didn't trust it. I didn't like it enough to put my money on it, but I did say this looked higher right in here. But looking at that idea in hindsight, it makes a lot more sense because there's a lot going on in here. There's a lot overlapping with this inversion, this BISI, and then this upper quadrant of the new day opening gap at a time that it could go higher to take the buy side and form a short-term swing high. It's looking pretty weak, honestly. Oh, I didn't even notice this. ES went and took the high of day. So there's bearish SMT on NQ here as well. So that's just extra. So that's pretty good. What's a 5-minute look like? Oh my gosh, we have displacement on the 5-minute. It only took an hour. Let's see. So this looks like a decent inversion for value gap to potentially use. 82 and a quarter, 82 and a quarter. So there's no volume imbalance, which means that is the gap there. Oh, that's not right. There you go. I'm just highlighting this because it is the last inefficiency formed before liquidity was taken. And so that can be utilized later as inversion, potentially. But it depends on what kind of price action we get up until the lunch macro. It's an aggressive move back up using the first presented for value gap. The body stopped there at the low and it reached into this BISI here. So I do recall actually saying that this could form a short-term swing high and it could potentially trade to this inefficiency. So I remember saying that, I'm pretty sure. And that I wasn't confident how low it would go, but I said maybe this. There you go. So that's nice. And this is short-term. Like, if it wants to go take the high now, whatever, that's fine. I don't care. That's good enough, I think, for a short-term high. So this inefficiency, like, could be important, but if it decides to go take highs, then I feel like this inefficiency would overshadow this one. This one would be more important at that point. So it's just, you know, as you get more information, you change your, you know, analysis, I guess. So. Oh. So this looks like this is the second stage of the run higher. So this would be like first stage and then second stage here. Because this is rather aggressive. Took the high. Now there's bearish SMT on ES at this high. ES is set up a little better, a little more obvious sell side than NQ. So I'll go ahead and get rid of this one. So now the inversion for value gap I'd want to be looking at is this one. 24 and 3/4, 25, yeah. So it's really a suspension block because there's a volume imbalance at the low and the high. This one's pretty important as well. It's overlapping with a potential order block here, and it's rather large. Well, I like this one as inversion. And then this one, I would want to see it, I don't know. It's about 1050 macro. Not quite into the lunch set. Lunch session starts at 11:30, and that's when I would prefer to see a lunch macro take place. And it isn't closing below that, so that's actually good, because I didn't want this to like start going lower early. It'd be nice to maybe see the, I don't know. You really just want to wait for 11:30, I think, at a bare minimum. If not 12:30. What I could do as well is take the first hour's opening range, which would be from this high to this low. And I can project that forward. And I'm going to get rid of the middle and then the high and low just to clean up the chart a little bit, because all I care about are these projections. So we can project that higher and potentially use these to determine the high of day. But it could continue grinding higher like this up until lunchtime. So these levels aren't going to be important. Like if it were to snap up to this first projection before 11:30, that's not important. What's important is price being at these levels at the right time of day. So if it's meandering at one of these levels after 11:30, then they become much more significant. If they're at these levels before 11:30, they're less significant. So that's how you can determine like which one to use. It all depends on what time of day it is when it's at these prices. So I just realized that the The stream title is wrong, but that's okay. This is what people don't understand about trading. I have sat here for almost 2 hours. Really longer than 2 hours because I sat down way before the market opened and before I started recording, and I've sat here maybe for 4 hours, and I've done really nothing. But that's not even true because I've fought the urge to take trades because I knew it was bad conditions. And it can be straining, it can be draining. I feel pretty tired right now. And there's been no profit made. Like, and people that don't trade just don't understand how draining it can be to put in a lot of work and not get anything financial like out of it. If you're a trader, you know that there are benefits, there are rewards, I guess, for being patient and not doing anything. But people on the outside looking in don't understand. Like, how could you sit for so long and not do anything and not make any money? Like, you're not doing anything. Like, and it's just it's a job that breaks all the rules, basically. And no one really understands the stress that can be had just sitting here doing nothing, even. It can be hard not to take a trade. Most people don't have the patience to just sit here and stare at the candlesticks and do nothing. It's pretty boring at times. You have to really like it. I feel like for the most part, I've called the market pretty well today. The only thing I'm a little disappointed with is just not predicting, I don't know, not calling this move. But technically I did because I did say right around here that this looked higher, but I just didn't trust it. Um, and that did end up playing out as well. So technically I did call this move as well. Um, Especially considering the conditions that we were in and kind of are back into now, because I mean we're not doing anything anymore, are we? So pretty happy with how I called this. Yesterday's trading was a lot better. It was really obvious that we were going to come down here. And it was really clean, really nice to swing right off the open. Nice place to get in. Inversion for value gap here. It was really nice. The PM session, the afternoon or the lunch macro worked out beautifully as well. And then the PM session is what finished out the move. So it took some time. It wasn't as quick as it could have been, but it was pretty clean. This reversal happened at a time that made sense. There's 10 o'clock liquidity here. And then right around 11 o'clock, we start pressing higher. And then 11:30 is here. Generates more buy side. And then at 11:50 macro, we go take the 10 o'clock buy side liquidity. And it was kind of a two-stage lunch macro. First it took buy side, but it generated sell side here, and then at 12:30 we ended up moving lower and taking that out extremely quickly. I mean, look at that candle. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, so that was much better. Unfortunately, I didn't get to capture any of this. I missed an entry in here because I was distracted, and then I was distracted during the afternoon session as well. So I just didn't get to capture any of that. And I'm not as experienced trading the PM session. So whenever we were here, I was like, just not confident. Like, I don't know. I just don't trade the PM session very often. So I just didn't get to capture this move, which is unfortunate because it was really obvious. And now, of course, today, where I have, the market has my full attention, these are the conditions we're in. So that's a whole nother thing that people that don't trade don't understand. Like, it's the good trading days, you can be distracted and busy, and then the bad trading days are sometimes the days where the market has your full attention. And that can be a really bad thing at times because it's like, oh, I missed yesterday's, and today I have to make up for missing yesterday, but today's conditions are bad, but I'm going to try to trade anyway. And it's just it's really hard to know what to do and when to do it and know what not to do. And it's very difficult. We're working this consequence encroachment of the weekly wick, which is interesting. Doesn't mean we're not going to go above it, but we are, in fact, working it. Above that midpoint. This one closed below it. These ones closed below it. I wonder, as soon as I say that, this one might close above it, but it's just interesting. It's being highly respected. That one closed below it as well. It's just interesting. It can go higher, but it's just an interesting thing to see. Is this wick here, which might be interesting to note, the midpoint of that. All right, it's 11 o'clock. So yesterday, the low was kind of formed around 11, and then 11:30, well, not 11:30, the 11 o'clock macro. No, the 11:50 macro, the 12 o'clock, 11:50 to 12:10 macro ended up sending us higher, but the low was formed around 11. So it'd be interesting to see, is the high formed here around 11? Failed to reach that midpoint, that wick. It's the lower quadrant. So we can get rid of that now. Okay, so we've swept this high. This is looking rather interesting, isn't it? It's kind of tanking a little bit here at 11. We have equal lows here, low of day, plus this. Big gap closure. Back to the 1 minute. That's some nice displacement. Interesting. This is looking interesting. I don't know if it's time because the lunch session doesn't start till 11:30. The macro is from 11:30 to 12, or no, 11:30 to 1:30. So it may not be time. It's tempting to like place an order for this inversion for value gap, but there isn't really obvious sell side liquidity formed. So what if it kind of comes back down to first presented and then bounces off that and comes back up to the highs? Because then that would generate an obvious sell side liquidity pool right here. That then may be closer to like 1150 macro, or perhaps after 1230, then it will be time to go take that potentially. So this does look bearish. I mean, this is a bull flag, right? Retail bull flag. They tripped buy orders here, generated sell side liquidity here, and then they went and took it immediately. So just interesting. It's interesting to note. Right at 11 o'clock, we went lower there, so that's kind of nice. I'm still leaning short for my bias. See what ES is doing. Yeah, yeah, it'd be nice if ES left that too, because I was saying ES has slightly more obvious sell side here than NQ. And if it just generated more of it here, that's even better. So oh, look at that. Huh. Interesting. Ooh. How would I be feeling if I had a short order here and it's like just pressing through? Of course, it could stop here still, but I'm not confident in that. I don't think it's time. I think this is generated sell side for the lunch macro. And look at that. How would I be feeling? Not good. It's not time yet. It's really satisfying predicting moves like that. Even if you're not trading it. Would you look at that? Hmm. That's a nice move. Just going to measure that out of curiosity. Let's say I was a highly experienced trader. Let's say I had that exact analysis that I just talked about, and I wanted to use first presented. I didn't think it'd take this low because this is going to be lunch macro liquidity, so it's not going to take this low. Let's say I got in here, and let's say I was just looking for a scalp, just back up, because what they did, it's like buy side, sell side, buy side, right? When they take this out, they're triggering in retail shorts for a potential, maybe they're fading the flag or maybe they're selling the double top, right? And then whenever they get in short, their stops or go here and here. And now they're running that aggressively. And so let's say my trade idea was just a scalp up to the high. Let's just see. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Just took a couple minutes, 3 minutes. That's pretty nice. All of a sudden, the lunch macro got interesting to me because I think this is, let's see what ES did. Yeah, and ES left that. That is perfect. Lunch macro just got interesting because this was generated like that. So I'm going to go ahead and note this. That's sell side. And then they are like kind of far away from each other. So I'll note both of them, but that's the lunch macro draw for me. Up into that octant, that lower octant there, so the reaction there on the daily for value gap. Lower octant. Getting a small reaction there. That's kind of nice. Just fun to see that. So it didn't trade to this midpoint of the wick, but it did utilize the wick. It did. So some people might see that this candle kind of blew through that line and it's like, oh, ICT stuff doesn't work. But at this point in time, this wick is no longer relevant to stop price because at this point in time, the target is the buy side liquidity. It did utilize the wick. If you put on the lower quadrant, it used the lower quadrant and failed to reach the consequence encroachment. And if it fails to reach something, that means it's bearish. And the body's closed below the wick here, the lower quadrant. During macro, right, 1050 is here to 1110, which is here. Right at 11, it moves lower to take the sell side. So that's a potential scalp if you're crazy and really experienced and confident in that move. And then this is a potential scalp here. And I noted that this could happen before it happened. And then there you go. That's the buy side. So this wick is no longer being used to go lower because once we take the sell side and reach into the first presented for value gap, the draw is this high and above the high potentially. So why would it stop at this wick here if the draw is above this high? So there's just context involved with when price will respond to the PD arrays. So earlier, I think I said this was second stage. It's the word distribution, I think. Really, I think it's this because we had the first leg here and then a little accumulation, manipulation. And I think this is the second stage leg of the move higher because we had this pause and manipulation here. So I think that this move here, this move up, will, I think, potentially create the high of day. And that's interesting. That body closed right there on that projection. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's not 11:30 yet. I think the high will probably form between 11:30 and 12:30. So still not time to make the high. This could continue going higher up until 11:30, and maybe even a little after 11:30. So I like recording my trading session. I feel a lot more engaged with price. Uh, because it feels like I get to explain it as it's happening to myself or anybody else that might watch. I hope that recording it and uploading it will improve my trading abilities, my discipline to be patient because other people could potentially see it, whereas before no one saw it. And so it's like if you do something stupid, did you really do something stupid? Because no one saw it. So hopefully, hoping that this helps my trading. Isn't it interesting that all the bodies are stopping right there, and then we went up and touched the low of that Wednesday first presented for value gap from the 8th. Isn't that interesting? It's really crazy. It's all the ICT stuff is crazy if you really pay attention to it. It is incredible. I mean, look at this from the first presented for value gap. That's pretty impressive. The low stopped it here, and then right, it's just really impressive. I never would have imagined this amount of precision before I came across ICT. Never would I have even considered price turning here before ICT. It's very, very impressive. Interesting. So we just put a body above that. So it's nice that it has paused here, but it still isn't time to form the high of day. Still is not time. It could press higher. It could reach this one. It could work the Wednesday first presented here. The high should form, optimally, it should form between 11:30 and I think 1:30. I think optimally it should form between 11:30 and 12:30, and then at 12:30, you see the move to take liquidity formed after 10 o'clock, which would be these lows here. If it's, trading optimally. So it's not yet 11:30, so I wouldn't expect this just to be the high of day. I wouldn't just short this with a stop here, and I wouldn't do that. That little wick went to that octant there and came up. It's just interesting seeing the algorithm just use these little price points. It's really just fascinating. Wow, look at that. Isn't that crazy? This is from the 8th. Oh, crazy. It's 11:20, so interesting. I talked about earlier, this isn't something I've seen ICT talk about. It's just something that I have noticed personally. Half-hour marks will often form swing highs and lows. And so the 10 minutes before that half-hour mark, you can see a volatility injection. You can see the market start to spool towards the potential high or low that it is going to make at the half-hour mark. So that would mean, if we're using this as an example, this is 10:30. That's a half-hour mark. you can expect some sort of swing high to form. In this case, it was kind of a short-term swing high around 10:30. So that means that at 11:20, I've noticed, or at 10:20 rather, it could potentially start that move for the 10:30 short-term high. So right here, similar situation, it's 11:20. This could potentially start some sort of move to form some sort of high at around 11:30, potentially. So that's something I like to look for. Also, macros will form highs and lows pretty often. Like this low, 10-10 macro, this high as well, that same macro. This low right before 11:50, right before it. This high, 11:50 or 9:50 rather, 9:50. That's 9:30 obviously. Then 10:30 here. This is 2 minutes before 10:50, so that's pretty close as well. It's not exact. It's kind of a time range. And this is 11 o'clock macro. 8:10 here macro. Formed a short-term high. This one's pretty close to 7:30, 7:26. 6:36 here. So it's just something I've noticed. 3:30 right there to the dot, 3:30. Then 3 o'clock macro here. So the 3 o'clock macro from the high, and then 3:30 from the low. It's this one. 120. So that's interesting. It's interesting. I haven't seen ICT talk about this type of thing. Maybe he has, and I just haven't seen it. It's just something I've noticed. So this is 120 starting the move for the 130 short-term high, which is formed here, and then we get a pullback here. Macro here forms that high. Just interesting to go back and see 1020 here, see that taking lows, and then we start to move up, and then this is 1030, kind of forms a pivot low here at 1030, and it just keeps going. Macro, macro, macro again. That's a macro, right before macro. 630 here. Macro. See, 330s here, and then we get one more press up at 340. So that's pretty close to that half-hour mark, pretty close to it. Usually I'll see more half-hour marks forming significant highs and lows, but during this little look back, it's been mostly macros. It's another macro. And then 1220. Interesting. Pretty close to 1230, right? It's almost 950 macro. 730, that's a nice one. 735 right there. Macro. This is an interesting one. 235 right there. 1250 macro. 820. It's pretty close. So yeah, that's enough of that. Oh. At this point, this inversion is, I don't want to say old news, but it's like I'm not going to be using, if I'm going to short the PM session or the afternoon session, I'm not going to use this one because it's so far away. I'm going to potentially use something up here. So this is like more of a supporting inversion. So if we get some sort of setup up here and we start going lower, I'd want this to be utilized, certainly. But obviously it's steeper in the range, and I'm likely not going to be using this for an entry. So I will go ahead and get rid of that. I'll take a mental note, I guess, that that's there. Just to keep the chart as clean as possible. So we used the low, the consequence encroachment, and the high of this old Wednesday first presented fair value gap from the 8th at just around 9:30 or 11:30, 11:27. Then 11:20 started the move higher for this 11:30 potential short-term high. We're also near the event horizon, which is just the midpoint of this projection and that projection. So I'm just going to rough eyeball measure that out. This, and we'll make it like, I don't know what color to use. We'll do this pink. So that pink is the midpoint of that projection and that projection. Really, it's an eighth because these are quarter projections, so this would be an eighth. Or you could call it the event horizon because it's the midpoint of these two projections, but there you go. Bodies are staying. I think that green candle is a tick. Yeah, it's a tick above that, but for the most part, they're respecting that. Went to the high of this. So now that it is after 11:30, now it is the right time to potentially set up the high of day. And check the 5-minute. Yeah, the 5-minute. See how the 5-minute respected the consequence encroachment? Not bad. It's interesting. We have this 5-minute inefficiency here. $74 even, 74 even. So there's no volume imbalance there. So this 5-minute fair value gap will potentially be used. Let's pull this 5-minute for a second. That's rather nice. I really like how this looks on the 5-minute chart with the bodies closing below the consequence encroachment, reaching up to the high exactly. That looks really clean on the 5-minute. There's liquidity here that it took. And I believe that this would be the last inefficiency formed before that high was taken. It is, because there isn't any inefficiency here on the 5-minute. So this would be your potential inversion for value gap on a 5-minute chart. This here. And it's forming as we're taking these highs as well. So that's interesting. It's 1 minute. The ES liquidity is really obvious. More obvious than NQ. So again, played out pretty well. This high was formed at 11:27, so it's 3 minutes off. 11:30 is right here. So 11:20 sent us higher to form the short-term swing high at right around 11:30. So it's interesting. Surely ICT knows something about that, right? Because I see it all the time, but I've never heard him talk about it necessarily. So look how we closed here. This isn't necessarily the time to get in short. It's nice that we're seeing this type of reaction at the time that it's happening. But we kind of just swept these little lows here and then closed back up above this octant of the daily chart, the daily for value gap. And it's only 11:35. It's really early in the lunch session. Optimally, 11:30 to 12:30 will set up the short setup or the reversal setup, whatever you're looking for, the lunch macro, set it up from 11:30 to 12:30. And then from 12:30 to 1:30, it will deliver to that setup liquidity. So it's very early. I mean, it could come back up above this high potentially. So Well, I fixed my stream title. Not much else to do right now. I'm contemplating taking a break and coming back around 12:30 because I'm really not sure it's going to do anything before 12:30. This is starting to really look like the characteristic. What am I trying to say? Just from 11:30 to 12:30, it'll usually set up whatever lunch macro move it wants to do, and then at 12:30 it will actually make the move. And this really slow, choppy, not really doing anything price action is indicative of it setting up the liquidity for 12:30 to 1:30. So I think it's just going to be a lot of waiting around. So I think I'm going to take a break and come back at around 12:30.